Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap. I hope all of you guys had a wonderful day. My day was all right. We got a lot of news to cover for the most part today, mostly Trump administration news, but we do have some other news topics as well. There is a cat meowing. Yeah, I hope all you guys are having a wonderful day. We're now just chilling out, watching the NFL draft right now. Trying to see who my Cleveland Browns select, and who's going to be on the roster this year. Um, wasn't too big of a fan of the first pick, but we drafted a running back. Sorry, with our second pick in the second round of the draft, and I think he's going to be quite a good replacement for Nick Judd. But yeah, other than that, let's get started on the news recap. For the Trump administration segment today, we have three topics. Trump has told advisors that ending the Ukraine war is harder than expected. ICE is using green card interviews to trap immigrants, and Doge is working on a deportation database. Let's get started. Trump has told advisors that ending the war in Ukraine is harder than expected. Trump is reportedly frustrated over his efforts to find a deal between Russia and Ukraine for peace. He had reportedly told advisors that mediating the deal had been more difficult than he anticipated. Trump apparently brings up frequently how much Putin and Zelensky hate each other. On Thursday, we saw some of this when Trump yelled at Putin to stop bombing Ukraine. We're almost 100 days into Trump's presidency. He said he could end this by, the first week, and it's way past that. Trump has failed on multiple occasions now, and this is just another one to add to the list. I think it's funny, how much confidence he had in ending this war, just to fall flat on his face and not do anything. But not only was Trump the anti-war candidate, he failed to end a war, and he is actively participating in more wars, in Yemen, and he's sent threats to multiple countries, throughout the world, with war. So, not the anti-war candidate. I would say Raiders just drafted Zach Beck, wide receiver. Sorry, I know that's random. The Browns are picking soon, and I gotta know who they pick. I would wait, but I don't have time to wait. I gotta record this. ICE is using green card interviews to trap immigrants. Rosemary Alvarado, a Guatemalan immigrant, was detained Wednesday after arriving in an immigration office for what she believed was the first step for her residency process in the United States. But according to her daughter, Karina Moran, in a social media post, that was not the case. Alvarado and her husband live in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Her husband, who was born in El Salvador, became a U.S. citizen last month. Alvarado's husband previously filed a form repetitioning for his wife to begin the green card process, and both of them received requests for their appearance at a field office. Agents detained Alvarado for separating her from her husband and put her into an unmarked white van. She is currently being held at an ICE facility several hours away in Chase County, according to her daughter, where she will be sent back to her country within 3 days. This is crazy news and a crazy situation. This potentially makes a terrible immigration system in the United States even more terrifying for people trying to come here, and that is a genuine problem. This is not okay. It never should be. People used to come to the United States, looking for opportunity, success, passion, some life. And now they're coming to the United States and, being presented with the risk of being deported to a death camp in El Salvador, which is insane that that even is thinkable in the United States. If you would have told me that 4, 5 years ago, even while Trump was president in his last term, I would probably think you're crazy. Granted, I was still in middle school at that time, but I definitely would think that is insane because I was definitely still educated on a lot of history by then. Doge is working on a deportation database. Staffers from Doge are building a master database to speed up immigration enforcement and deportations by combining data from across the federal government. The goal is to create a massive repository of data pulled from various agencies, according to sources familiar with the project who spoke on anonymity. A former IRS senior said on the matter, if they are designing a deportation machine, they will be able to do that. This is wrong on so many levels. The amount of databases that this administration um, is a little terrifying, especially with the motives of this administration. And I know databases are a common thing, but you know, Germany also created a lot of databases of individuals living in their country so they could go after these specific individuals. And that is the same thing the Trump administration is doing here. And it's, just another comparison that you're able to make, which is a problem. I mean, the amount of comparisons I've been able to make between the Trump administration and Nazi Germany is insane. And in no other world should we really have to be dealing with that. You'd think, Nazism would have died years ago, but unfortunately it doesn't, and it didn't, and it is still now a raging problem in the United States. And has been a raging problem in the United States for years at this point. The Ravens pick is in, everybody. Moving on to the other news segment. The FBI has arrested a judge for helping a migrant evade detention. Tensions are rising between India and Pakistan, and George Santos has been sentenced to 7 years in prison. The FBI has arrested a judge for helping migrants evade detention. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan has been arrested by the FBI over allegedly helping an undocumented migrant evade arrest. According to FBI Director Kash Patel in a post he would later delete, Patel said, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan's obstruction on immigration arrest operations last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing any subject, any illegal alien, to evade arrest. Dugan was arrested early Friday morning at the courthouse, and Eduardo Flores Ruiz would soon be found. I believe it was like 2 days later he was found by immigration forces. It's interesting to see, the proof they have for this one and what this means for other judges, because this is honestly terrifying if the FBI is just arresting judges. I'm sure there are definitely people in hiding. As mentioned, she is arrested for being putting someone in hiding or hiding someone from the FBI. And I'm very sure that there are people in hiding in the United States. We just won't know about it for a very long time. And I wouldn't be surprised of that at all. This is going to have a lot of implications on judges, I think, and the judicial system in the United States. And I think a situation like this is one of those where judges kind of stand up and say, okay, you guys have gone too far, because they've arrested a judge, and that's crazy. Moving on, tensions between India and Pakistan are rising. India and Pakistan forces have exchanged fire along the Line of Control (LOC), separating the two countries as the UN now calls for maximum restraint between the two countries. According to Al Jazeera, Indian Army Indian Army sources told the news station that Pakistani forces initiated the shooting. Fortunately, no attacks on civilian populations happened, but allies have raised their heads as American planes arrived in India this morning, and France, Italy, Israel, Japan, Egypt, and Jordan have all shown their support for India. This is crazy news. A war between Pakistan and India would not only have crazy implications, but it could very likely lead to a situation like World War III, especially if someone like Pakistan decides to drop a nuke. And this, because of that, and because of the uncertainty behind that, I feel like this is a situation that definitely does need to be watched carefully. The UN calls for maximum restraint, and I agree that is something that's needed because, these two countries don't have a great relationship, and they actually very do much hate each other. Um, so I think keep a watch on the situation, make sure nothing bad happens. Make sure um, a World War III doesn't break out. Essentially. Moving on to our final topic of this evening, George Santos has been sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. George Santos, the man who brought himself into politics by what prosecutors call a mountain of lies, theft, and fraud, has been sentenced to more than 7 years in prison. Where is the remorse? U.S. District Judge Jonah Scheibert asked Santos before sentencing him to 87 months behind bars and ordering him to pay $374,000 in resolution and over $200,000 in forfeiture fees for his crimes. What a guy! I mean, truly, one of the biggest controversies is how far he got into politics for the United States. I wonder if he does actually serve his sentence or if he pays bail. We don't quite know that, but it'll be interesting to see. This is definitely one of the most interesting situations by U.S. politicians, in recent memory. And, I'm excited, or not really excited. I honestly could care less about George Santos being in prison. I do agree that he should be, but he's a terrible dude, and he fucked up a lot, so he should have been in prison a long time ago. I'm gonna be completely honest. But you know, I think it'll be interesting to see if he serves the sentence, or if he just buys himself out. And That's about all too on that one. He'll never be in politics again. His career is over, and I know it's been over for a while at this point, but that's really all I have to say on that one. But yeah, with that being said, not much to talk about here. The Ravens selected Mike Green, and the time it told me to talk to you guys about this since the Raiders picked. So yeah, not too much there. Hope all you guys are having a wonderful day. I will see you all tomorrow. If you're on YouTube, consider dropping a subscribe and like this video. Drop a comment down below on your opinions. We're on our way to 500 subscribers. We'll hit it eventually, but that is the goal, and we're gonna get there. If you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. All funds go to me. They help me pay the things for the things that I'll need to pay for in college. But if not, that's fine too. You can always subscribe for free. I appreciate all forms of support from everyone on all of my content. Check out my Blue Sky. Check out all the other things. The Blue Sky is where I, quite frequently, send out these evening news recap notifications, or, I kind of just chat random things or spit random things out about my life, or whatever. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all tomorrow in tomorrow's news recap episode. Later.